Our next candidate is here, a recognizable face. So would you please say your name and the position you are running for?
Bill McNulty, Richmond First, standing again for this position of Richmond City Councillor.
Bill, we're going to ask you the question we've been asking everybody first off, and that is, do you live in Richmond? And if so, how long have you been here?
I live in Richmond. I've been here for 47 years.
As someone who's been here, I'll say close to 50. It's a better sounding number. Can you talk a bit about what you've seen with the city? And do you feel in the last few years that the city is developing too rapidly, not rapidly enough? Where do you sit there as someone who's seen this city over a number of years?
That's a good question. The greatest rate of growth was actually in the 50s, 60s, and 70s
Really?
in Richmond.
Yeah, okay.
And grew in leaps and bounds from a community of about 32,000 to a community over 105,000. So Richmond is growing, in my opinion, at about 10% a year, and it's a good steady growth. We at City Council have put the clamps on it to make sure we don't exceed our grasps and the community develops in an orderly fashion.
You've been on the front lines for a long time. One of the things that I hear a lot is that the struggle and the difficulty it can be between infrastructure and building. I mean, you guys must be always conscious of that, correct?
Well, we are. We are definitely working with the infrastructure. I was very involved when we built the Watermania pool and the 8 rinks in terms of sporting facilities and the Hugh Boyd Park, and at the same time the Gateway Theatre and all those good things that the community wants to have. And it's very interesting. We've got a good balance. I won't say we're a bit behind, but development actually allows us to have good amenities. We're very hard on the developer, and the developer has to contribute to the community to get density, and that's the one thing the city has. And we continue to ask for things that will benefit the community. Just recently, for example, in the north, Richmond off 3 Road, we got a 50,000 square foot community center coming, and the developer has given that to us free title.
Good to hear. As someone who's been on the front lines, as I mentioned earlier, a long time, you've seen a lot of things happening. Can you talk about what you think is the one thing Richmond is really in need of going forward?
Well, I think there's not necessarily one thing. I think we have to look at transportation and methods of getting around, and I think the rapid transit system has to go a light rapid transit. To be quite frank, 105 years ago, we were able to go straight out to Chilliwack with the best system in North America. But I also think we've got to approach the provincial government to talk about the bridge or the tunnel. But we need to move goods and services because the airport is expanding. Mm-hmm. The airport's going to expand into billion-dollar programs and add a 3rd runway and bring in maybe 15, 20 more airlines. We've got to be able to react to that. Even though it is their business, we have to do it. And I believe, I'll be quite frank, once elected, I'm going to ask the mayor to write a letter to the premier to say we need to sit down and talk about transportation from north to south, through the tunnel and or the bridge, whichever, but whatever, we must do something about it.
Bill, always a pleasure. Thank you, and good luck with the re-election.
And thank you for hosting us.